Hello everybody! Now I'm going to teach you how to solve the polynomials where you have irrational roots. Alright, just like in the previous videos, I went ahead and skipped the first few steps because you know how to do it, you've had enough practice, so we're going to go ahead and start with graphing it, choosing a root. Alright, when I graph this function in the calculator, I have three roots that I can choose from. Now, if you can notice, some of them are kind of like decimals I'm not too sure of, except for maybe this one. I'm thinking that may be negative 1.5. If I'm not 100% sure, what you can do is press on your calculator second window, and it takes you to this screen. Go down to where independent is, highlight ask, and press enter. Then press second graph so you can go to the table and actually type in negative 3 over 2. And as you can see, it is a root. So I can use negative 3 over 2. Go ahead and write out your coefficients, 4, 12, negative 5, negative 21. And I'm going to go ahead and say if you're comfortable with using negative 1.5 instead, by all means you can. All right, so I'm going to bring down my first number, and then negative 3 over 2, or negative 1.5, whichever one you're using, times 4 gives me negative 6, add straight down, and then 6 times negative 1.5, or negative 3 over 2. Gives me negative 9, add straight down, multiply negative 14 times negative 1.5, gives me 21, add straight down. All right, now I have my A, my B, and my C. And of course, when I write the quadratic function, it'll be 4x squared plus 6x minus 14. So now I can go ahead and do my quadratic formula. So my B is 6, so when I plug it into the quadratic formula, it will be negative 6 plus or minus square root of 6 squared minus 4 times my A, which was 4, times negative 14, which is my C, all over 2 times 4. All right, make sure you type in the calculator everything that is under that square root. So it'll be 6 squared minus 4 times negative 14, and that gives me the square root of 260. So it'll be negative 6 plus or minus square root of 260, all over 8. So now I'm going to go over to the side and try to simplify the square root of 260, and you can break it down however you want. I'm going to use 10 and 26 because I know 10 is 5 and 2. And 26 is 2 and 13. And don't forget the cheer. For every pair, you take one out. The only pair I see is a 2. So when I take out a 2, I'm left with the 5 and the 13 under the radical. Remember, whatever numbers you're left with, go ahead and multiply them together. So that gives me 65. So I go back and plug that in, and I will have negative 6 plus or minus 2 square root of 65 over 8. And remember, I told you the only time you do the 3 parts of my heart is whenever you still have that square root. And I do. So I find a number that divides into negative 6, 2, and 8, which is 2. So that will give me negative 3 plus or minus 2 divided by 2 is 1. Square root of 65 over 4. So my roots are x equals negative 3 plus square root of 65 over 4. X equals negative 3 minus square root of 65 over 4. And don't forget the first root that you chose, which was x equals negative 3 over 2. So now when I write the complete factorization, it's going to be 2x plus 3. And then, remember, if you ever have a square root in your roots, you have to go back to when you did synthetic division to get that quadratic function, which was 4x squared plus 6x minus 14, right here. So, in my complete factorization, I will write 4x squared plus 6x minus 14. And that's it.